automation at Drive Market and partner at TestPro. Okay. Please welcome.
Thank you. Okay, thank you guys for staying until my presentation. I'm gonna switch to more boring and technical stuff. So but I will try to make it like for beginners level, for people who wants to learn automation. If you already work with automation, for you it's probably gonna be like you already know all of the stuff. But sometimes I noticed some like beginners in test automation or people who are already working with automation, they don't really know the structure of their framework and like which part are responsible for what area. So about myself, so right now I'm automation consultant at Deploy, and also I'm co-organizer of test automation, TestPro automation meetups. So let's say if you are manual QA and you want to start to learn automation, right? So if you will go to like some of the companies, like I'm not sure if Age of Learning have like some automation openings, but if you will take a look to the job requirements, so you can see like some of the different tools that describe like Selenium, Cucumber, Java, Selenium Grid, TestNG, Jenkins, Gradle, Docker, and so on and so on and so on. And the biggest confusion for you may be like you don't know like what to learn, like where to start, and how it's all everything like connected to each other. And in this presentation, I'm gonna give you like the full picture of each individual part, like and what's it's responsible for. Okay, so I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna give you an example on Java automation frameworks, because like nowadays, if like you may like it or you may not like it, but Java is the most popular testing framework and one of the most popular language to write test automation. And so I'm gonna break it down to the framework itself, like how it's all built, and then I'm gonna talk about the execution part, like where it's gonna be executed. So first of all, let's talk about Java. How many of you like heard what the Java is? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so all of you. Okay, so why Java, right? Why you need to learn programming language? Because you're not software engineers, right? You just want to be like automation engineers. So nowadays, times when you were able to just record something and play back and call it automation are gone. So if you want to learn automation, you must know programming language. And that's pretty much it. And if you, like in your company, you are just writing test cases using Jenkins syntax, this may be like Cucumber or Behave or some other frameworks, it doesn't count as it doesn't make you a QA automation engineer, because outside of test logic, you also need to know how it's all like mapped, these keywords, and you need to be able to figure out where is the issue. If your test fails, you need to know why it failed, and you need to be able to fix it by yourself, right? So Java is one of the most popular languages in test automation, and like it's for recent statistics that I just wrote in the internet, like it's still, I mean, in software engineering, like Python is like become more popular, right? Because data science using heavy Python, and if you want to become like a data science engineer, like Python is for sure for you. But for testing, I would say Java is your right choice if you want to start. It's not the easiest programming language. Java itself wasn't built for automation engineers. That's why you may be scared if you will look to the Java code. So it's like more complicated than Python or Ruby, but once you will start to learn it, you will get like things. And I think like if you will know Java, this will be much easier for you to learn Python or Ruby. And Selenium itself actually was written in Java, and that's why there's like more documentation for Selenium in Java. Okay, so what is Selenium? So Selenium basically just a library, like external library, which allows you to emulate some of the actions on the browser. It's maybe clicking, typing, like drag and drop, scrolling, some like basic commands, and that's pretty much what it does. You can use Selenium not for testing itself. Let's say if you are posting advertisement on a Craigslist, you can use Selenium for that. You can just open the browser, post your advertisement, and just post it like every 2 hours. So you're not doing testing, right? You're just automating your routines that you need to do in browser. Like anything you want to automate in browser, you can use Selenium for it. All right, so TestNG. How many of you guys heard of TestNG? 1, 2. Oh, okay, so all of you, right? So TestNG is one of the most popular testing frameworks for Java. It's not like a standard framework. Like by default, I believe Java supports JUnit. But TestNG is pretty much the same thing, but it has some additional features that like eventually will make your test frameworks much better and more powerful. And so the problem with TestNG that some like people, beginners, if you will take a look to the, if you will like start to write test automation framework, right? So okay, I'm building test automation framework, but like in the description of TestNG it says TestNG is test automation framework, right? So if, you may ask like, if we have TestNG, why do we need to write test framework? So basically what TestNG does, it's just collecting your test cases and it's just executing them. It's just a test runner, and that's pretty much it what it does. Collecting them and running and generating a report in XML file. And that's it. That's like the limitation of TestNG, and in your framework you're using a TestNG only for this purpose. All right, Gradle. How many of you know Gradle? Okay, 1, 2. Have you guys heard about Maven? Or maybe you guys work with Python and familiar with big package management system. Okay, so what Gradle does, it's just a dependency manager. So if you want to install Selenium, Selenium is not default Java library, right? So here's the 2 ways to do that. You can go to seleniumhq.com and install it manually and add these jar files to your project. Or you can just use Gradle and list all of your dependencies like Selenium, TestNG, or like Allure for reporting or something else, and it will like do all the imports for yourself, so it just will be easier. It will just automate the process of like adding dependencies every time for each project. And on top of that, what Gradle also does is generate like some kind of short version of report, so you may reuse it as well. All right, Cucumber. So what the Cucumber does, it basically just allows you to write your test cases in a Gherkin language. So let's say if you work, it's pretty much helps you to, if you work with Java and writing code in Java, it helps you to make this to this. When you have just your test cases just in Gherkin language and in a human readable language. So your other manual QA folks or your business analysts or product managers, they will be able to write and understand what you're actually testing and what's your testing logic. And that's pretty much it. If you know that nobody gonna write test cases except yourself, and if you know that your product managers or business analysts don't care what you're testing, I would not recommend you to use Cucumber because pretty much you will double your work. You will add some additional knowledge to what you need to do because you pretty much, for each of the steps, you need to add the translation. And instead of just writing in a code, you will need to add the translation and specify this keyword after that. All right, so reporting tools. It comes to the product side and like product manager side. They want to see the report, right? They want to see like how much like coverage do you have, how much tests are passing, how much tests are failing, and for this purpose you can use like these tools like Grafana or Allure. So they pretty much gonna parse XML file that's TestNG generated, and they're gonna show you. So pretty much, if you will use TestNG standard reports, so it's gonna look like this, right? Kind of like ugly, old style HTML file. So if you're gonna use Allure, it's gonna make this to this pretty nice, user-friendly report. And what's basically used for? All right, Selenium Grid. Have you guys heard about Selenium Grid? Okay, yeah. So Selenium Grid, what it does, it's distribute your testing to remote machines. So let's say if you work on Mac, right, and if you're running all your tests locally, you're kind of limited to only what your Mac Pro is doing, right? So let's say you won't be able to run it on Windows. If you want to run it on Windows, you need to like clone your repository, install everything, and run it there. So what Selenium Grid does, it allows you to connect multiple devices to one system. So you're just pretty much sending to the server like, hey, I want to run this test on this specific browser, on this specific machine, and it's gonna check like if this specific platform is connected, and if it is, it's gonna run it there. You can use Selenium Grid, or you can go with either way, use Sour Stack or Browser Stack. So they are pretty much doing the same thing. You just connect it to the server, and they do like this distribution of testing. And it's gonna be like more powerful because even though if you connected like 4 machines that's in your office, using Sour Stack or Browser Stack, you kind of can check the variety of the devices where you can run it. All right, Jenkins. So what Jenkins does? Jenkins, all it does is just executing your test, and that's it. So if you run your test, like typing like Gradle clean test, it's gonna do the same thing, but it's gonna do this. It's gonna do it like scheduled. So let's say you want your test running every night, right? Let's say your test takes like 4 hours to run. You don't want to parallel it, and you want to run it at night. So to schedule it, you can use like Jenkins, and or let's say if you want to trigger it after each commit, you can use Jenkins for that as well. Again, all that Jenkins does is just triggering run of your test, and that's it, nothing else. I mean, of course, you can install additional plugins, and you can also like see reports, but it's kind of like more extensions. But main purpose of Jenkins just to automate of execution of your test, and that's it. Right, and this is like pretty much the graphs, how it's all like built and tied together. So you like programming language to Java because you need to know like programming language to write to automate test cases. Gradle as a package management system. Selenium as a tool for interacting with browser. TestNG for running your test. CI for automating these test runs. Distributing testing tools like Selenium Grid, Sour Stack, Browser Stack, just for running on the different machines. And for reporting like Allure or Grafana. Okay, and so basically, I was describing this because many people, like after my meetups, were asking like, hey, I want to like build this automation framework. I don't know where to start. And this time we are decided to do like some experiment, and we want you like I want to invite you to our workshop, and we like it's gonna be next week. It's gonna be like in October 1st. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna try in these 2 hours, we're gonna build everything from scratch. So we're gonna use Java, we're gonna use a Gradle as our package management system, we're gonna use TestNG. So we're pretty much gonna do everything that I described. The only thing is, I want you guys to do like some installation of Java and Gradle, so we won't waste time in our workshop installing tools. Just make sure you install everything on the description. And then we're gonna start and do that everything from scratch. That's pretty much it for me, guys. Any questions?
Is that framework thing, is that online or that?
We're gonna build from scratch, like basic scratch. Yeah.
On location or online?
I would highly recommend you to go on site, guys. But I think we can stream it as well. Oh, we're not? Okay, so we're not gonna stream it. You need to come in person.
What level of knowledge of Java or other programming languages do you require?
Well, for workshop, you may not have any, but it's kind of like, if you will have some Java knowledge, it's going to be much easier for you. But we'll try to make it for people who doesn't work in Java as well. Robert?
How long does it take to build a framework from scratch?
Well, we'll try in 2 hours.
2 hours?
Well, yeah, I understand your question. It depends. Like for me,
sorry, and one additional question. And is it depend from a project?
well, if we're talking about the solid framework using like all the test architecture pattern and best practices, in my experience, usually it takes 2 weeks just working with framework itself. Like I can start to work in a new company and I can work with creating a new framework 2 or 3 weeks, and I can like write like 0 tests. I can just work with framework. Like if I want to use like fetch objects, if I want to like use like contribute my test, do like all the settings, it easily can take like 2 or 3 weeks. And I mean, it doesn't mean you're just working and not contributing as a new test case, right? So you're just making your framework easier, so you can like write tests much faster if you will do it from the first day. That's like basically the purpose of framework. You're just making it easier, stable, and yeah. So it's kind of like investment for a company, for yourself. Any other questions?
TestNG and Visual Studio are the same?
No, Visual Studio is it's kind of like IDE where you're writing your code. TestNG is just a runner. Yeah, just library. Yeah, just a library.
Like a YARN?
No, not like that.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. Okay, so what TestNG is doing, it just you can create a main function, right, in Java, and you can write from there. Or if you want to like structure it correctly, so you can like create each method for each test case, add test annotation, and it's gonna collect them and run. Okay. Any other questions?
The last question. Let's go with the last question.
Okay. The last question. Okay, so there was a question to some people. Again, they are scared of Java, right? They don't want to deal with that. They want to start. They choosing the easiest languages for, let's say, Python or Ruby to start. But let's say if you will look to that from job finding perspective, I think, I mean, it's not based on my like knowledge. It's based on statistics. So like knowing a Java will be easier for you find a job, and it will be easier for you to pick up the Python or any other programming languages.
That was the last question.
Okay, so that was the last question. Thank you, guys.